the final couple of bits and pieces that we've got in this chapter are basically models. So again, this is likely to be tested in one of two ways. Either the examiner will do something like, they'll give you 4 answers. They will say, for example, Honey and Mumford come up with 4 different learning styles, and one of them they will make up. One of them will be wrong. Or alternatively, they might say, here is a situation, here is a person. This is what the person is like. This is the way the person likes to learn about things. Which one of Honey and Mumford's learning styles do they actually follow? So, Honey and Mumford, who I've now mentioned twice, Honey and Mumford come up with 4 different ways that people learn. Now, hopefully, as we go through this, you will recognise yourself as one of these 4. Most people, to be honest, have times when they are, when they perhaps do a different one, but most of us are happiest learning in one of these 4 ways, although occasionally we will vary it and learn maybe in 2 or 3 different ways at the same time. So, the first of them that we've got is what Honey and Mumford refer to as an activist. Activists learn by doing things. So, if I want to learn something, if I'm an activist, the best way for me to learn it is to have a go. I will probably get things wrong. Fine, as long as I learn why I'm getting things wrong so that I can improve them. Now, probably the best example of people being activists learning through doing would be something like driving a car. If you're learning to drive a car, really the only way to do it is to actually physically get in the car and drive it. You will make mistakes. Hopefully you won't crash, or at least you won't do it too often, but you will make mistakes. You will stall the car, you will perhaps clip a pavement when you're trying to do a turn, you'll get too close to somebody, you will perhaps not get out of somebody's way. There are lots of things that you might get slightly wrong, but the key thing is that you learn from the mistakes, you don't repeat them. So activists learn through doing. Reflectors would much rather watch somebody else and then copy things later on. So, for example, a reflector would be the kind of person who would sit in the passenger seat of a car and watch an experienced driver actually do something, and then they would try and replicate it themselves. So we have reflectors. Theorists, probably the most obvious one. A theorist wants to read the theory behind why something is going to work. So, if I was a theorist and I was learning to drive a car, I might read up about all the mechanics. How do the gears actually work? How does the engine actually work? How do things work underneath the bonnet inside the engine of the car? And once I understand that, I will be happier at actually doing the driving. And finally, pragmatists like to learn the theories, but they then like to apply them. So a theorist is quite happy just reading a book about something, whereas the pragmatist would then want to try and apply what those theories are. So they'd read about what the engine does, but then they'd want to sit in the car and see what happens to the car engine when they press various pedals, when they change gears, so they can see the things being applied. Now, obviously, in real life, probably there are more than those 4 learning styles, but Honey and Mumford were the first pair of writers really to start talking about how people learn. Now, there are a number of key things why Honey and Mumford is useful. First of all, which one of those are you closest to? Now, I am closest to being an activist. I find it easiest to learn by doing something. My wife, on the other hand, is much more of a reflector. She would rather watch somebody else doing something and then copy them. Now, we are both learning to play golf. I have to say that we are both very, very bad at it, but we are both learning. And when we go and have a lesson together, we both learn in completely different ways. So the last time we went to have a lesson, the instructor said, here are some golf balls, here is a golf club, I will show you how to do the swing, and then you have a go for yourself. So he showed us how to do the swing, and after about 5 minutes, I was quite happy hitting lots of golf balls. Some of them went a very long way, most of them didn't. But I could work out most of the time what I was doing wrong, and I would correct it. My wife, on the other hand, spent about another 20 minutes talking to the golf instructor and saying to him, can you just show me that again, and can you just show me that again? And it was about 30 minutes before she hit a golf ball at all. Now, I would have got very frustrated waiting for her, and she would have found me being very impatient, getting on and actually just hitting the golf balls, simply because we learn in different ways. Now, that's very, very important. If I am showing my wife how to do something, I need to show her in the way that she likes. So I will do something and show her how to do it, and then she can copy it. On the other hand, when she shows me how to do something, she basically lets me get on and do it, and then can tell me what I'm doing wrong, because we learn in different ways. Now, that's important if you are a manager training somebody else. There is no point whatsoever in training somebody in a way that they don't appreciate. So if you have somebody who is a theorist, then give them something to read about the theory first of all, and then a day or two later come back and show them how to do something. If they are an activist, let them do it and correct them when they get it wrong. If they're a reflector, do it for them and talk through what you are doing so they understand it. Now, whether you're doing it for somebody at work or whether you're doing it for somebody outside of work, a friend, a colleague, whatever, if you adopt the right learning style, they will learn more. Now, that also means if you're going to do a big training course, that you probably have to have lots of different ways of training people, because your audience, the students, some will be activists, some will be reflectors, some will be theorists, some will be pragmatists, and you've got to have something for everybody. Otherwise, there'll be groups of them that don't actually benefit from the course. So Honey and Mumford, a very, very, very useful model. And the final one that we've got in here, again, this one would probably be tested by having the 4 different areas that we've got of Kolb's experiential learning, which is coming up next. And the examiner would mix them all up, and you have to put them back in the right order. Kolb suggests that people learn from experience. The best example that I can use to illustrate the ideas of Kolb is babies. Babies and young children. Babies and young children learn by doing things. So they will experience something. Something will happen. They don't necessarily know why it's happening. All they know is that something has happened. So they have got cold. They have got hot. Something has happened to them. They've experienced it. They don't necessarily know why. So what they do is they see if it happens again. So a baby gets hot, and a baby notices that every time mum or dad puts more clothes on, they get warmer. So is that just a coincidence, or is that something that happens all of the time? Well, they observe it happening a few times and then come up with an abstract concept. Maybe the fact that I've got more clothes on is what's making me warm. It's a hypothesis. It's an idea. They can test that. So once they get a bit older and they can start putting their own clothes on, they can test whether that works. When I put my clothes on, do I get warmer? When I take some of my clothes off, do I cool back down again? They are now in a position where they can test those ideas. So they are now at a stage where they can see whether this thing works. Now, once they've done this, they probably then work out, well, actually, yes, I can experiment and I can try what happens if I put layers of clothing on and I can take layers of clothing off. They get more sophisticated. What they will probably then start working out is, does it matter which clothes they are? If I put a jacket on, I put one thing on. If I put a shirt on, I have also only put one thing on. So surely They should both be as warm as each other. And of course they will work out fairly quickly through experimentation that one of them is warmer than the other one. They then might start thinking, well, why is it warmer? Is it because it's thicker? Is it because it's a different material? And this is how often people learn. Now, I use children as an example, but it's how we all learn about everything. Imagine meeting somebody for the first time. You have no idea what they are like. Are they going to be friendly? Are they going to be rude? Are they intelligent? What do you know about them? You don't know anything. So you start trying things. You talk to them and you see what their replies are. You then start getting an idea in your mind of what this other person is like. You then start experimenting. If I say this, I wonder what their reply will be. And once you get to know somebody and you've known them for a while, you actually know roughly what their reaction is going to be to something. So you started out by knowing nothing about them, and you end up knowing a lot through experimentation. Based on my past experiences, when I said this to my wife, this is what she said to me. When I said that to my sister, this is what her response was. And you build up in your own mind a picture of what people's reactions are going to be. In other words, you've learnt about them. Now, whether you're talking about learning or whether you're talking about dealing with people as a manager, all the time we have to keep learning from experience. We try things, we get them wrong, we learn what was wrong about them, and we try something else to see if it will improve. So, Kolb and Honey and Mumford, they are theories. You don't need to know them in lots of great detail, but it's important that you understand what they are trying to talk about, because then if you get an exam question on either of them, rather than just learning the facts, you will also be able to apply them. So, training and development, a very, very big idea in lots of companies. As we started this chapter by saying, a lot of time and a lot of money is spent by companies training people. Some of it is wasted. A lot of time is spent by managers trying to train members of staff. A lot of that is wasted. A lot of time is spent by you showing other people how to do things, family, friends, colleagues, whatever, and a lot of that is wasted. If we can think carefully about how we're going to train somebody, then the results will be much better.